Welcome to Million Dollar Movers, where real estate meets real business leaders. The podcast connecting you with leaders who move the markets and make an impact. Today, I'm your host, Saïd Younes, and today I'm excited to be speaking with Ermos Erotocritou, a top financial planner who helped countless clients secure their financial future and build lasting wealth. Moreover, he's my friend and my mentor and my previous boss. Whether you're a home owner, investor, or simply looking to master your money, today's episode is packed with wisdom you will not want to miss. Let's get started. Welcome, Ermos. How are you doing?
Oh, thank you. Well, thank you for having me, Saeed. This is an honor and a pleasure, and I'm looking forward to our conversation today.
Thank you so much. Okay. So, Ermos, tell me a little bit. Why did you choose financial planning as a career? What drove you into this work?
Yeah. So great question. I'm not sure if you knew this about me, Saeed, but my parents were first generation immigrants to Canada. Knew very little about money. So we effectively grew up poor, happy, but poor. And as I grew older and started thinking about my own family and my future, I wanted to make sure that myself and my future family would be better off financially than my parents. And I do want to clarify, I had a very amazing childhood. I wouldn't change it for the world, but looking at their lifestyle when they first came to Canada versus, where I would want my family, obviously I wanted something more.
Yeah. And tell us a little bit about the beginning. Okay. How did you start in the financial planning?
Okay. So it's very interesting. I didn't originally go to school or college or university in the hopes of becoming a financial advisor. My life changed the day I read Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. It really changed my life. It really taught me how to think differently from where I was growing up. Growing up, because we were poor, my mentality was that of scarcity, right? So everything was hard to get. Money was hard. It didn't grow on trees. You hear all those metaphors. But what Napoleon Hill taught me was to live life with a mentality of abundance. And it really changed my perspective in life in the sense that probably the biggest lesson that I can take from that book was that now anything and everything was possible, whereas before I felt limited. So that was the beginning of my journey because being a financial advisor, as many people might know, is like being a realtor. You are a business, effectively.
Yeah. Okay. So what was your biggest or first big success, a breakthrough in your career? How did you feel about that?
Yeah, you know what? It may seem a little bit underwhelming, but to me, I'm all about making an impact in people's lives. So biggest success or breakthrough, I would say, was helping a very close friend get out of crushing debt. His family was able to live life again, after meeting with me and helping him, put his life back together. And I remember vividly that meeting because by the end, both him and his wife were effectively crying. Tears of joy, of course. But on the professional side, there was very little in it for myself as far as compensation, but it was the breakthrough in the sense that I now realize that I can make a real difference in people's lives. And that kind of led me to believe that this was my calling. This was something that I wanted to do for the rest of my life because I knew I was actually making a real difference in real people's lives.
Yeah, makes sense. And Ermos, a lot of people are, frankly, confused between financial advisor who took an EFIC, which is like a 1-week study, versus a full-fledged CFP, a full financial planner like yourself. What is the difference, if we can share it with the audience?
Right. So, I mean, having the CFP designation is huge. It is the gold standard in our industry. But Just because somebody has a CFP designation beside their name doesn't necessarily make them better than other advisors. Because I can tell you from personal experience, there are a lot of really, really good financial advisors that don't have a designation beside their name. And on the flip side, there are a lot of people that have a CFP designation and they're really not that good of advisors. Now, having said that, if you want to generalize, yes, if you put 100 people in a room, half of them CFP, half of them non-CFP, the reality is you're likely to get better advice from a CFP. But really what separates, I think, probably some of the top financial planners from the rest of the industry is how they think. Many different ways, but the way I can summarize it is, those who are like very, very successful in this career are those that look at their career as a business, whereas other people look at their career as a job. And there's a very big difference between the two. Those that look at their career as a job, effectively, it's almost like 9 to 5, Saïd. It's, what time can I check out? What time can I stop working? Whereas those that look at their career more as a business realize that there's always something to do. I mean, theoretically, you could work 24 hours a day and 7 days a week and still not get everything done. And typically those people that look at their career as a job, as a business are the ones that will invest in their business. They'll invest in coaching. They'll invest in tools to make their job better so that they can provide better advice and service for their clients.
Okay, so you also coach, because you mentioned coach. You also coach financial advisors?
I do, yeah. So I've been doing this for 25 years. In the last few years, I've moved away from just coaching clients to actually coaching advisors. The reason why I did that was because as a financial planner, there is only a limited amount of people that I can help at the end of the day. But if I'm coaching advisors, now it becomes unlimited, right? So if I can coach 10, 15, 20 advisors, then they can coach 10, 15, 20 times more clients than I could. So for myself, it was more being able to help more people was to help the advisors versus just helping clients. But I still help clients today as well.
Okay. So somebody like in the bank is a financial advisor, he can contact you, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. If someone's looking for some help or they need some advice, I'd be happy to help.
Okay. And regarding a CFP, the difference is that I understand you also study taxes and the impact of taxes and generational wealth, how to pass down wealth in a tax efficient manner, right?
Right. So if I can give your audience some advice on what to look for, those advisors that are, so-called investment advisors, like they're a dying breed. Because the reality is, here's the truth, Saïd. I can go online right now and I can research Warren Buffett and I can see exactly what he invests in. So exactly. I can see exactly what arguably the greatest investor in the history of the world invests in. So I don't need someone to tell me what to invest in because there's a lot of resources. There's a lot of information out there that I can get access to on my own. A true financial planner, someone that you should be looking for, is someone that does, the whole holistic financial planning, because it's not just about the investments. It's how much money do I get to keep at the end of the day? Because I would rather get 8% rate of return and keep all 8% rather than get 10% rate of return but lose half of it in taxes. I don't care what the return is. I care what is left in my pocket at the end of the day, because that's what really counts. I can't spend a rate of return, but I can spend cash. So I want to maximize my investments. I want to maximize my tax minimization. And as you mentioned as well, if you're interested in making sure you're passing down those assets to kids, grandkids, that type of thing, then obviously estate planning is very important also.
Okay. So another point. What are some of the biggest mistakes, like you see, like homeowners or real estate investors make nowadays?
Okay. Well, you know what? This is a little bit more of my opinion. It may not coincide with some people's opinions as well, but personally, I think paying off mortgage at the expense of their lifestyle and enjoyment is a mistake. Your house, regardless of the size or how much it's worth, it's going to appreciate at the same rate, whether you have a huge mortgage or just no mortgage at all. So, dumping all of your money into your mortgage may get you mortgage free faster, but you have to start asking the question, like, at what cost? Like, how many vacations with your family did you miss out on? How many experiences did you miss out on? Your kids will be grown up before you know it. And your kids could have missed out on all those amazing memories that you could have made if you had that extra cash flow. Now, let me be clear. I'm not suggesting don't pay down your debt. What I am suggesting is you can't be so narrowly focused on paying down your debt that you're giving up on actually living life. One of the things that drives me absolutely crazy, Saïd, is those people that say, well, you know what? If you gave up that $4 or $5 latte in the morning and you invested it for 20 years, and you'd have X amount of dollars. Yeah, technically it's true. And if you're okay with drinking regular coffee or no coffee, I get that. However, if you love that morning latte and that is like the best or one of the best parts of your day, drink the latte, like spend the money, because that's what's bringing you enjoyment. So I don't like it when people say, cut this out or cut that out, because they don't know what the preferences of each people. But as for investors too, I see them take rental income and put it into their rental property mortgage, because somehow they think that once they get the mortgage paid down, somehow they're going to have larger profits sooner, which in a way is true. But I can tell you that's a very big mistake, Saïd. Take that rental income and pay down your principal home, because that mortgage interest is not tax deductible. The mortgage on your rental property is tax deductible. So in fact, when the mortgage property is due and you need money, max out that mortgage. So what I mean is, let's say that you built up $100,000 of equity in your rental property over the 3 to 5 years that you had that mortgage. It actually makes sense to take that equity out of that rental property and put that $100,000 onto your principal residence, because all you're doing is you're converting non-deductible mortgage interest into deductible mortgage interest. So you want to keep your personal mortgage low, but you actually want to keep your rental property mortgages higher, because that is deductible from your rental income, if that makes sense.
Well said. And what you mentioned now is quite deep when you're saying, you're depriving yourself of like vacations with the kids, and guess what? The kids will grow up and then they will fly out of the nest. And great, you paid off your debt, but you missed on precious time with your kids. That was really deep. Thank you for sharing. So, Ermos, what are like some of the common misconceptions people have about financial planning?
Okay. Well, I could tell you, one of the mistakes people make is they're constantly chasing higher returns. You could get better results by effectively increasing your savings rate and minimizing taxes as opposed to like just chasing returns. And again, I'm not suggesting that you shouldn't want better returns, but what I am suggesting is it shouldn't be your sole focus. So talk about financial advisors, for instance. Some think that the advisory fee they pay their advisor can be saved by doing it themselves, right? So, if I'm paying my advisor, whatever the advisory fee is, let's say it's 1%. But there's lots of studies out there that show that an average financial advisor will generate 3.5 to 5% additional return over the years. So if the advisory fee is 1%, but on average they're generating 3.5 to 5% in return, then that seems like a pretty good return or ROI on my money.
Yeah.
The important thing is two things. One, it's not chasing the returns, but it's also tax minimization. As I mentioned before, I'd rather get an 8% rate of return and keep 8% versus a 10% rate of return and lose half it in taxes or get only 5%. If you have a good financial advisor, they will be minimizing taxes. They will be showing you more efficient ways to save and to grow your wealth. So effectively, overall, you should be far better off paying that 1% advisory fee to that financial advisor, because they will pay for themselves, especially over the long term. One last thing, Saïd. One of the biggest reasons why people end up falling short in retirement is because they will typically make what I refer to as the big mistake. So think 2008, 2009. Think about all the recessions. Think about when the markets go down 20, 30%. The average investor will usually cash out or take some of that money and park it in cash. But what they don't realize is when you try to time the market, you have to time it right 2 times. When to get it out, but also when to get back in. And studies have proven over and over and over again that it's near impossible to time the markets. So what happens is people will take their money out, they'll sit it in cash, the markets will recover, and they were not invested. So effectively, you're losing 20 or 30% every time that happens.
I cannot just share a personal point.
Absolutely.
You always taught us, and you had someday like 80, 100 advisor under you. And you always mentioned, okay, time in the market, not timing the market. Okay, and the hundreds were very well said. Thank you for sharing. Okay, so what would you give advice to a young Ermos who just started as a financial advisor, then a financial planner?
Okay, so it's very simple. Start investing sooner. So even if you're a teenager right now with a part-time job, get used to investing 25% of your pay, because compound growth is so powerful. And the sooner we start, the harder our money will work for us. Too many times we think that, okay, I'll start saving when I get a real job or when I'm making more money or when I get that raise. Well, a lot of times that never happens. So the sooner that you start, the sooner you start to reap the rewards of compound interest.
Okay, very good. Okay, so what would be the best compliment or feedback you received from one of your clients?
Yeah, for sure. It's getting unsolicited referrals is always the best compliment. In addition to being invited to like family events such as weddings, birthday parties, those types of things, because it really shows that I'm more than just a financial advisor to my clients. I'm part of their family, and I never take that lightly. So for me, just being part of their lives is to me the greatest compliment, because again, I'm not just the money guy, right? I'm the person that actually cares about them. I ask the right questions. I know if their marriage is strong. I know how their kids are doing in school. I always ask a lot of deep questions with my clients, and then over the years they become very close friends.
Yes, very well. And what inspires you about helping people with their finances?
As I mentioned before, that story it's just seeing the impact my advice has on people's lives and their families. So, taking somebody who's maybe can't sleep at night because they're worrying about their debt, or they're worrying about retirement one day, or the markets are fluctuating, so they're worried about that. So being able to sit down with, just average everyday people and helping them navigate through these things and providing clarity and just really making them feel better about their entire situation. Because I find that, there are things that we control and there are things that we can't control. So if the markets are going up and down, we can't control that, unfortunately, right? But if we kind of understand how the markets work and take advantage of the market fluctuations, then people will feel much better about it.
Yeah. Yeah. And could you share with us something you are proud of professionally, but you don't often share? Achievement.
Looking back, because I've been doing this for 25 years, so I've been doing this for a long time. Honestly, I look at the circle of friends that I have today, and the closest friends that I have, and almost all of them, with very few exceptions, they were either clients of mine or they were colleagues of mine. So it's being able, it may seem like it's not really, I guess, a professional, but that's the way I look at it. People look at professional as, oh, how much money did you make, or how many awards did you win, or that kind of stuff. But to me, the biggest achievement in my life is just being able to surround myself with really good people, good quality as far as family oriented, ambitious. They have goals, but they also enjoy life, and just immensely positive people. And that to me is probably the most important thing to me, is being able to surround myself with really good people.
Okay. For people who don't know you, I know you're very positive and upbeat and full of life. Okay. So share with me, okay, and with the audience, okay, what really makes you motivated, especially when clients face you and the markets and the advisors working with you. You're always upbeat. How do you stay that positive?
Well, part of it is I work on it, I guess. Being positive or being negative is a choice. You wake up in the morning, and it really is a choice. Am I going to be down all day? Am I going to be depressed? Or am I going to be positive and look at the brighter things in life? So, am I drinking the Kool-Aid? Yeah, maybe. But at the end of the day, I still feel pretty good about myself. I feel good about my life. I feel great about everything that's happening in my life. So it works. And, you mentioned like the bear markets. This may come as a surprise. I love bear markets. I love it when markets fluctuate, because there's no better opportunity to actually grow your portfolio. So, I mean, I don't know how in depth you want me to get, Saïd, as far as maybe some strategies to work with bear markets, but those are the times where you can actually make the most money. Also, as a financial advisor, if there's financial advisors out there that are listening to this podcast, there is no better time to prospect than when the markets are down, because that's when people are worried. That's when people have questions. If everything is going smoothly and they get their monthly statement and every single month it's a little bit up, 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 there's no real incentive or fear for them to actually maybe get a second opinion or talk to another advisor. But if they open up their statement and they're down 20%, well, guess what? They may have some questions. So they're far more likely to talk to somebody new if the markets are going down. So bear markets are a fantastic opportunity to actually, for advisors and for investors.
But we know is that once they see the statement down, first thing they do is they call and they sell. They go out of the market. What would you tell them?
Yeah, it's exactly the opposite. Now, having said that,
Yeah.
It's very important to be educated in advance. So what I mean by that is this. A good financial advisor will talk about market fluctuations in advance. If they don't talk about the market fluctuations and that the markets are going to go down every I think it averages 4.5 years, it's too late to talk to them at that point, because now you're just kind of like, it's a reaction or response. But if you're proactively explaining to clients, hey, this is what we can expect over the long term, but if we look over the last 30 years, every 3.5, 4.5 years, there's a market correction of 20% or more. So what are we going to do when those things happen? Because there are a couple of things that we can do. One is just we buy and hold, meaning the money's in there. We're not going to touch anything. It's going to recover because it always does, right? And when I say that, I'm talking about a diversified portfolio. If you have one stock and it goes down, that might not recover. But if you're investing in the S&P 500, the Dow Jones, those types of things, then we know it's going to bounce back, right? The second one is to rebalance. So very few people are 100% equity. Most people are 60-40, 80-20, meaning equity versus fixed income, cash, that type of thing. So even if you don't have more money to invest in the markets when the markets go down, simply rebalancing, so taking some of the stuff that didn't drop and now rebuying the stuff that did drop, if you're buying low. And is that not the secret to growing your money in investments, is buying low and selling high? So you don't necessarily have to invest more money. So the first option is buy and hold. The second option is rebalancing your portfolio, which is probably the easiest thing. And a third one is, if you have some extra money sitting on the side, that would be the absolute best time to invest. So when the bear markets happen, it happened in April of this year, right? So in April of 2025, markets dropped about 20% in a very short period of time. People were panicking. I was putting more money in. Well, since that time, the markets are up 30% since that bottom. So all the new money that I put in at that time is up 30%. So what people should be doing is putting more money in, but I also understand that due to fear, people were taking money out But at the end of the day, that's why you need to be working with a really good financial advisor.
When people pulling out, you actually put money in. So like
Exactly.
100,000 would now be 130,000.
Exactly.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay. So tell us, if we ask your family, what is Ermos doing? What do you think they will answer?
So I think the knee-jerk reaction would be, I'm like the money guy. But if you maybe dug a little bit deeper and asked them more questions, they would probably tell you that um, it really comes down to like building relationships, because that's truly what it is at the end of the day. I mean, most of my friends that I'm very close with, they also have kids, even though my kids are now 18 and 21. So they're not, I guess they're not technically kids anymore. But
No.
by them growing up with my other friends, and then seeing how we interact together, and we get together during the holidays, and we go on vacations together, they would admit that what I do is build relationships with really good people. But the short answer is I'm the money guy.
Okay, I love that. Okay, so related back again to real estate. What do you wish more real estate agents and more real estate investors understood more about financial planning?
Yeah. So financial planning in general. Okay. So I think maybe, I mean, every person is different, Saeed, but some of the things that I notice is sometimes they tend to put all their eggs in one basket. So the people that like real
Yeah.
estate, that's all they can think about, right? So they want to put all their money in real estate. Those who like stocks or mutual funds or whatever it is, they fall in love with that. It's like, oh, I want to put all my money into stocks. You really should diversify. I like real estate, but I also like investments as well. At the end of the day, we do not know what the future holds. We do not know what laws will be passed, or what the markets are going to be, real estate versus stock market, that kind of stuff. So instead of trying to guess and say, my guess is real estate, so I'm going all in on real estate, or my guess is, stocks, I'm going to put all my money in stocks. That is just, you're just taking on risk for the sake of taking on risk. There is no magic. There is no silver bullet. Do a little bit of everything. So if you are a real estate investor, it's okay to have some money in stocks and bonds and mutual funds and that kind of stuff. If you are an investor in stocks and bonds and mutual funds, it's also okay to maybe look at purchasing a rental property, because there's definitely some opportunities there as well.
Some of my investors, they buy and hold real estate, and they buy it and hold it in their own name, personal name. And they buy 4, 5, 6. I know a lady, she bought 24 properties. And another gentleman, he's in IT, 18 properties in his personal name. What would you tell them?
That's a lot of risk. Because if something happens and they get sued, then they can come after all of it. So, I mean, they
Yeah.
really should be incorporating those, because effectively, once you get past 2 or 3 rental properties, you're a business now. This is not just dabbling in real estate. You're a business. So, and as a business, you need to start talking about risk management. So, this would involve an accountant as well, and also like a certified financial planner, to kind of like look at what you have and analyze what risk the risk that you have based on all these properties, and really you want to minimize that risk, because if something happens and somebody sues you, they can come after all of that, right? Whereas if you're incorporated, they can only come after what's in that corporation. So ideally, and again, this would be probably more of a question for an accountant, but if you have 10 properties, chances are you may need maybe 10 corporations. It seems like a lot of work, but you're basically reducing a lot of risk that way.
Amazing. Yeah. Amazing. Okay. And again, I'll circle to one thing. I just want to touch on it. Your daily habits and routines. I mean, you're always like in the market, in the event, you're in the center, and your mind is always sharp. What are some of your routines and habits?
Okay. So I am part of the 5 a.m. club. Robin
Oh,
Sharma,
right.
I guess, started. That was a book called 5 a.m. Club. So it might seem a little bit extreme for some people to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning. I used to be the person that used to wake up at 8 and still be exhausted. It's anything that you do, eventually you kind of get used to it. So 5 a.m. club is something that I'm comfortable with. I don't even use an alarm clock anymore. My body just naturally wakes up around 5 o'clock. Now, when I say 5 o'clock, could be 4:45, it could be 5:15, but it's typically around that 5 a.m. time. And I don't feel tired. I feel actually pretty good. I find that walking, like long walks, is a great way to clear your mind. It's also an amazing way to inspire creativity and more ideas. Staying active, I mean, I wish I did a little bit more, but the reality is, even if you just did 50, 60 push-ups a day with some walks, that's great. It keeps me fit anyways. And I think for me, and this kind of ties into part of the positivity, I'm a big believer in I believe it's a Japanese term called Kaizen, which is effectively constant and never-ending improvement. So I love watching YouTube videos. I love learning about new things. Like right now, my big thing right now is AI. I'm fascinated by how fast that technology is evolving. So I love this stuff because not only am I learning something, but it gets me very excited because I feel like I'm ahead of the curve. And I feel like I can look into the future and see where people are going, where the world is going. And that empowers people too, right? It gets you excited about, hey, you know what? If this is happening today and this is what the expectation is in the future, well, you can start kind of planning your life so you can catch that wave, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And by the way, do you sleep like 10 or to wake up every day at 5?
So I'm typically in bed by 9:30, 10 o'clock, but maybe not go to sleep until maybe 10:30, 11. So even from 10:30 to 5, that's still 6.5 hours. And for me, that's more than adequate.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay, back again to financial planning.
Yes.
Who are the three legends? If you can have like dinner with the three financial legends, living or dead, who would they be and why?
Okay. So that's an interesting question. So I think Warren Buffett would definitely be part of that. Only because, I mean, again, arguably the greatest investor ever. So he has a lot of good ideas. And what I like about Warren is he's not flashy or sexy. He's just more, slow and steady, slow and steady, slow and steady. And he's built a massive empire over many, many years. But what fascinates me about Warren Buffett is if you look at the stuff he talked about 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, not much has changed. Like he's got the same principles from 30, 40, 50 years ago as he does today. So to me, that's pretty impressive because most people tend to like jump on fads and that kind of stuff. The next person would be Napoleon Hill. I mentioned his book, Think and Grow Rich. I just find that entire book and the way it played out absolutely fascinating. And he spoke to, I think it was like 500 of the richest people on the planet or something like that. So I'm sure he's got some stories to tell. And the third one, I would say Thomas Sowell. He's an economist, but I like the way he takes really, really complex situations and makes them so that anyone can understand it. So he really clarifies things and he makes the complicated simple. And there's a genius in that, in the sense of taking something which is complicated and making it simple. So that's part of the reason why I like Thomas.
Awesome. Okay, so what are your next big goals or exciting projects in the horizon for Ermos?
Yeah, absolutely. So what I'm really excited about right now is, so I was doing a lot of personal coaching for financial advisors. And as I mentioned before, how do I expand my influence? How do I help more people, more advisors? And what I've done now is instead of doing personal coaching one-on-one, I've created a community It's called Client Acquisition Academy. It's for financial advisors. And what I'm really proud of is we're building something big. So most coaching programs is, hey, here's a bunch of videos. If you have any questions, email me. You may or may not hear from me again, that kind of stuff. Whereas this, there's kind of 3 pillars to it. We have live coaching every single week, at least 2, sometimes 3 times per week, myself and this other coach as well. So there's an opportunity to get personal coaching every single week, but it's part of a group format. So typically, 10 to 15 people will show up for that. The other pillar is the actual content. So there are videos in there, how-tos, tutorials, how to set up your LinkedIn, how to get clients on LinkedIn, that kind of stuff. And then the third one is the community itself. So when I originally started this community, it was basically me coaching advisors, but it's kind of grown into a life of its own. And now what I'm noticing is, the advisors themselves are helping each other out. So, hey, I just got this tool. I really want to share it. And they're sharing it in the community and everyone's kind of jumping on board. And most people, let's face it, Saïd, if somebody paid $500 or $1,000 for something, it's not likely they're going to just give it away to somebody else, right?
Yeah.
But we've created a community of sharing so that when somebody goes and buys something, a tool, a resource, a guide, a book, whatever it is, like they'll just pop into our community and say, hey guys, I just bought this today. I want to share it. And now everyone's doing that. So the amount of value that's in that community right now is just absolutely enormous. And it's far beyond just what myself and Andy, who's the other coach, talk about. It is really a community of, right now it's only 27 advisors, but they're all helping each other out. And to me, that's really, really exciting. And I'm really looking forward to seeing where this is going to go.
Excellent. I wish you all the best. Okay. So last question. One piece of advice you're giving to the listeners who want to secure the financial future, what would it be?
Yeah. Live below your means, spend less than you earn, try to save at least 15 to 20% of anything of your gross income or revenue, but also very important, like you need to educate yourself. And when I say educate yourself, you do not need to be the expert. You don't need to become the CFP, but just know some of the basics when it comes to finances. And I would always, always, always recommend to everybody that they should be actually using a financial advisor, because that financial advisor will provide clarity and coaching and that kind of stuff. And if you think about it, Saïd, if you look at all the top athletes on the planet, so Michael Jordan, Tiger Woods, whoever you want to bring in, all of these people, elite athletes who are the best at the best of the best in their field, they still have coaches. Like, why is that? Like, why would Michael Jordan need a basketball coach? That makes no sense, right? Like, why would Tiger Woods need a swing coach? Like, he's got the best swing in golf, right? Arguably back then, but they still have coaches because everyone needs someone to lean on at certain times. So whether you're really, really good at financial planning or investing, that kind of stuff, it's always a good idea to have another advisor along for the ride as well. And also, the one thing that I can mention, and this really ties into your real estate, Saïd, is passive income sets you free. That is the key to freedom is passive income. So whether it is an annuity, whether it's investments that are paying out dividends, or whether it's rental properties that are paying out rental income, it's really the passive income that will set people free. And one of the things this came from Tom Hegna. He's like a retirement guru in the U.S. and he made mention of something once which kind of stuck in my mind. He says, assets make you miserable, but cash flow makes you happy, or something like that. And at first I didn't quite understand what he meant, but if you think about it, think of it this way, Saïd. Everyone has a certain lifestyle. So whether you have $1 million in investments or $10 million in investments, there's a very good likelihood that people will have a certain lifestyle, which reflects how much money they have. So you enter retirement, and no matter how big your portfolio is, chances are your lifestyle means that you're spending more than it's growing. So regardless of how big your asset is, every year it gets a little bit lower. Every year gets a little bit lower, a little bit lower, a little bit lower. So now people look at their portfolio and they start to worry. They start to, I want to say panic, but they're starting to question, oh my goodness, am I going to run out of money before I run out of life? Right? But if they had consistent ongoing cash flow, then you never have to worry about running out of money, because every single month, more money goes into your bank account. So even if you spent all that money, next month, more money hits your bank account. And there are studies that have been done, Saïd, which is kind of fascinating. You should look into that show that people that have pensions live happier retirements and live 7 years longer than those who don't have pensions. So let that sink in. That was not, you heard that right. Look it up. This is not me just making stuff up. People who have pensions live longer, 7 years longer than those who don't have pensions. But it's not the pensions that gets them to live longer. It's the consistent income that keeps coming in. So you can create your own pension by having an annuity or rental income from rental properties. So that is what's going to get you a much happier retirement and will actually get you to live longer.
Peace of mind. Gives you peace of mind. Yeah. Thank you so much, Ermos. And you want to share anything at the end of this show?
In what sense?
Did I miss anything?
No, I think your questions were great.
Okay, thank you so much. Well, thank you so much. And thank you, Ermos Erotocritou, for joining us on $1 Million Movers and sharing those invaluable financial insights. Don't forget to check the show notes. If you found the value of today's episodes, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with somebody who can benefit of it. I'm Saïd Younes, reminding you that moving your money wisely is just as important as moving your real estate. Until next time, keep making $1 million moves. Thank you so much.